Here are three truths. The suburbs can be lonely. Intimacy isn't always sweet. And, as the writer Mary Cantwell once said, marriage, at least in the beginning, requires three people. The third provides the glue. Anthony and I lived in the suburbs, the kind where everyone seems friendly, but no one really seems to be a friend. We were in year six of our marriage, so not in the beginning, but we needed glue. We didn't talk, and our anger was mounting. We needed an outlet, and we chose our neighbor Gary, but didn't use his actual name. We called him Blocker. He parked his car on the sidewalk. Big deal. But minor drama it's the lifeblood of the suburbs. He was an opportunity, so Anthony and I seized it. Anthony and I seized it. We needed glue desperately that year. In James M. Honeycutt's research article, Differences in Imagined Interactions, he provides that sharing as a marital ideology can be associated as a secure attachment and negatively associated as an anxious, ambivalent attachment. Sometimes the people in your life can be said attachment. In this New York Times editorial, Modern Love, we explore the villains in our lives and how, although they are supposed to cause us ruin, it is rarely discussed the antagonists that actually enrich your life. After all, the villains always help the heroes grow in the end. It took a villain to save our marriage by Teresa Difalco. The petty details. Blocker had a three-car garage and full driveway, but preferred to park his black SUV on the sidewalk, so anyone who wanted to walk on the street in front of his house had to go into the street to get by. I walked up and down that hill to the park every day, and one day I noticed a window was open. So I shouted, "Get off the sidewalk!" Blocker's response was prompt. He pounded on our door one day, so I answered. You wore faded jeans and a t-shirt? And except for the fact of how menacing he looked, like he killed a man in Reno, he was attractive. He didn't bother with the pleasantries, however. If you have a problem, you can deal with it to my face. We had already dealt with it to his face, but no matter. He grew aggressive fast, shouting expletives at us in broad daylight. And Anthony, my husband, gave it right back to him. This was the year that I felt trapped. Like Rapunzel at the top of the hill, lonely and invisible, until Anthony came in, strong and fierce, to my defense. This went on for months, the three of us in our gloriously crazy affair, until Anthony and I bought a house in a different town. Not because of Blocker, but when Anthony and I have problems, we throw change at it, our MO. But when the open house signs began to post around the neighborhood went missing, we had naturally assumed that Blocker had been the one to take them. Okay, I actually held a secret thought that he didn't want us to go. Then one day, after Anthony went silently to bed, we were in the worst kind of fight. The kind you walk away seething. I fumed and had a little too much to drink. So while the rest of the block kissed goodnight, I marched down to Blocker's house and pounded on his door. He opened it calmly. It unnerved me. I'm sure I looked crazed. My face felt puffed up. Stop stealing our signs! There was a shift. It was he who had the advantage now. I was on his doorway and drunk. But Blocker didn't seem angry, as he should have been, that I had bothered him that late. No. We stood inches apart. There was an intimacy to our strange hatred. Look, he said, I didn't take your signs seriously. The city picks them up sometimes, and I can go look for them if you would like. No, I didn't. I didn't want, but I thanked him and walked home both shaken and comforted, thinking that Anthony would kill me if he knew I crossed enemy lines like that. I never told him. We left having not said another word to Blocker. And a year after we moved, just last month, we got a phone call from an old neighbor. I have kind of weird news, she said, and paused. Pauses are never good. Here's some petty details, but Gar- Gary's dead. He hung himself? I, I couldn't breathe and my heart, it seemed to stop. No. Blocker, he wouldn't do that. He was impossible. He was strong. He was Teflon. He was something that couldn't break. He was stronger than all of us. But he wasn't, though. He was near his breaking point, and maybe it was even obvious. I had just been too caught up in our strange dance to see it. After all, I wasn't supposed to care about him. We were enemies. But then I remember the first time he showed up on our doorstep, terrifying and angry. And I think that's all he could do. It was this violent, profane tirade against us, against the world as it turned out. And it broke my heart.